India strongly condemns the airstrikes on Afghan territory, which are flagrant violations of international law and the UN Charter and the principle of state sovereignty. It's hypocritical to espouse high principles of international law and Islamic solidarity on the one hand, while mercilessly carrying out airstrikes during the holy month of Ramadan that have killed 185 innocent civilians as of 6th March, around 55% of whom are women and children, and displaced over 100,000 according to the UNAMA on the other.
We have provided irrefutable evidence of India's collusion with terrorist groups that are engaged in orchestrating violent attacks against Pakistan.
As far as problems in Pakistan are concerned, Pakistan would do well to look in the mirror and look at problems within, rather than blame my country for what it faces. Madam President, we take note of the Secretary General's report on the situation in Afghanistan, especially the dire humanitarian concerns and the rising implications for the country due to unprecedented scale and pace of forced and involuntary returns under adverse circumstances. Acute food insecurity and climate and natural hazards have led to 45% of the population requiring humanitarian assistance this year, which is a dire situation that needs the world's attention. These significant vulnerabilities necessitate more efforts towards addressing food security, healthcare, water security, and other shelter challenges. The returnees need to be provided housing, basic services, and livelihoods. We add our voice to the Secretary General's call on member states to uphold their international obligations in relation to protection, including the principle of non-refoulement, and ensure that returns are voluntary, safe, dignified, and accompanied by sustained support for reintegration of returnees into communities. The Secretary General's report also expresses deep concern at civilian casualties caused by cross-border armed violence. We reiterate and support the Secretary General's call urging compliance with obligations under international law, including international humanitarian law, and ensuring protection of civilians. India strongly condemns the airstrikes on Afghan territory, which are flagrant violations of international law and the UN Charter and the principle of state sovereignty. It's hypocritical to espouse high principles of international law and Islamic solidarity on the one hand, while mercilessly carrying out airstrikes during the holy month of Ramadan that have killed 185 innocent civilians as of 6th March, around 55% of whom are women and children, and displaced over 100,000 according to the UNAMA on the other. We also reiterate a grave concern on the practice of trade and transit terrorism by denial of passage for trade and the cynical closure of access for a landlocked country. UN declarations on LLDCs sound hollow in the face of such actions. The trade and transit vulnerabilities of LLDCs should not be weaponized. This is a violation of WTO norms and of the UN Charter and international law. While we condemn these acts, we reaffirm our support for the territorial integrity, sovereignty, and independence of Afghanistan. Madam President, terrorism remains a global scourge afflicting humanity, and only coordinated efforts of the international community would ensure that ISIL and Al-Qaeda and their affiliates, including the Lashkar-e-Taiba and the Jaish-e-Mohammed, and the proxies of LET such as the Resistance Front, along with those who facilitate their operations, no longer indulge in cross-border terrorism. Madam President, well over 4 years have passed since the political reality of Afghanistan has changed. India reiterates the importance of incentivizing positive actions. In this context, the current UN sanctions regime related to Afghanistan must take into account contemporary realities. We call on the United Nations and the international community to shun this business-as-usual approach and adopt nimble policy instruments that bring sustainable benefits for the Afghan people who have endured suffering for so long. India reiterates its commitment to strengthen our engagement with all stakeholders in bilateral, regional, and multilateral formats. India will always stand for the priorities and aspirations of Afghan society and will always support the people of Afghanistan.
The remarks of the Indian representative come as no surprise. India's representative deliberated at length on the security situation in Afghanistan. He mentioned civilian casualties and border clashes, but had not a word about the terrorist threat emanating from Afghanistan, which has targeted Pakistan and which many council members have highlighted in their statements. But there is a reason for that. It is India's complicity in all of this. We have provided irrefutable evidence of India's collusion with terrorist groups that are engaged in orchestrating violent attacks against Pakistan. One can sense India's pain in seeing its heavy investment in the Afghan terrorist franchise going to waste as a result of Pakistan's precise and effective action against terrorist camps and support bases inside Afghanistan. And the world needs no lectures from a serial violator of international law like India, a state that illegally occupies territory, violates UN Charter and Security Council resolutions, perpetrates state terrorism in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and beyond, systematically marginalizes its minorities, spreads hate, even weaponizes water with the express goal of starving Pakistan's population, and continues to use disinformation as a state policy. And the list goes on. So, Madam President, while India has always played the role of a spoiler in Afghanistan, Pakistan has engaged responsibly in promoting peace, stability, and prosperity in Afghanistan. But these goals can only be promoted if the Taliban regime fulfills its commitments with respect to counterterrorism, inclusive governance, and upholding the rights of Afghan women and girls, three key areas that were highlighted by the Council members in today's discussion. India in particular must cease and desist from its policy of stoking terrorism inside Pakistan from Afghan soil, now together with their newfound friends in the Taliban regime. While India has long played this dangerous game, we will not allow their sabotage and subversion from Afghan soil to nourish and harm Pakistan. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Pakistan for the statement. The representative of India has asked for the floor to make a further statement. I now give them the floor.
Madam President, I could not have expected anything better from the esteemed representative of Pakistan. The laundry list that is regurgitated ad nauseum at every meeting of the Council and wastes the time of this august body is well known. I reiterate what I have said in my statement. India's assistance is directed at the friendly people of Afghanistan. What we have done in Afghanistan is known to the people of Afghanistan and to the international community. I need add no further comment. As far as problems in Pakistan are concerned, Pakistan would do well to look in the mirror and look at problems within rather than blame my country for what it faces. Thank you, Madam President.
I thank the representative of India for the statement. The representative of Afghanistan has asked for the floor to make a statement. I now give them the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to react and use the right of reply to the remarks made by my dear friend, Ambassador Ahmad. I just wanted to echo that the current status quo in Afghanistan is one of the wrong policies of our neighboring countries, particularly those who provided the same groups and supported them in the past 2 decades. And we hope that the current situation can be a good opportunity to learn from the past experiences and correct the policies. And we have to fight and combat the terrorism without any distinction. And we have condemned in our statement that terrorism is the common enemy, and we should always fight against terrorism without any distinction. And terrorist groups are all the same. The situation in Afghanistan today, we share the sufferings of our neighboring countries, particularly Pakistan and the people of Pakistan. But over the past 2 decades, the Afghan people have also suffered the same situation. Every day with suicide attacks, with bomb attacks, with civilians were targeted with the same terrorist group. And we have always been asking the Council, and we have been always condemning the terrorism and asking our neighboring countries to fight against terrorism without any distinction. So that is something that we wanted to share, and we are hopeful that the current situation can really provide an opportunity for creating a legitimate government, a government that's committed to international obligations and also to the protection of the rights of Afghan people, and can help create a state that Afghan people can live in peace with itself and also with its neighboring countries.